This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is now 6 p.m. I'm almost going to sing that because no one else did, and whatever. All right, so welcome everybody. No members of the public present that I can see online or in person, so unless they have gone invisible. So we will probably not have any public speak time. Approval of the minutes. I'll send us around the minutes. Does anybody want to give us a whole motion?
I will move to approve the minutes.
Motion from Jamie. Any seconds?
Seconded.
Second from Jenny. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
That's everybody. All right, and it's approved. Cool. Yeah, I'm probably going to speed run this a little bit because I have a hard stop at 7 and we don't have a particularly heavy agenda this time. But we will obviously linger as much as we want, especially about some of the Owen stuff, and also, hello, good evening.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good evening.
Hello. Sorry, we were upstairs at the other conference room.
Yeah, with the nice chairs.
Yeah.
Welcome. Well, we just passed public speak, but do either of you gentlemen have anything that you would like to share with the committee?
Yes, that's why we're here.
Okay. Yeah, sure, please.
So just so we understand what this is, the bees committees, bee nuisance bees or what have you.
Biodiversity, environment, and ecological sustainability.
Okay, gotcha.
So not directly related to the insects themselves, although they are, of interest.
Sure, understood. Okay, you should stand.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna do.
Yeah.
Thank you. So my name is Brian Redfern, and I live in the Little Circle neighborhood of Easthampton, and we've got a couple. I think we probably have a couple neighbors on the call today as well. Hopefully,
Nobody has
Nobody's
joined.
called yet.
oh, nobody's joined yet. Oh, interesting. Okay. But in any event, so we had in over the past 2 years, we've had issues with massive swarms of bees. And I had 2 years ago, we just thought it was kind of a one-off thing. The bees showed up and were in my backyard, my neighbor's backyard, and then they kind of, went on their way later in the year, or the spring of the next year. So this is 23 to 24. July of 23, I was going back to my videos. July of 23 was the first encounter in my backyard. And when I say a swarm, I could, if anybody wants to see, I had sent videos to Brian Chapdelaine on this issue earlier this year, but I'd be happy to share the pictures with anybody. But anyhow, so in that first incident, it was so bad, and I came back in.
Can you mute yourself, please?
I think you can do it if you need to.
Do I?
My neighbors. So anyhow, it was just me and my dog out there, but they were so bad that I brought the dog in the house. And then that episode kind of came and went. And then in May of 24, the bees came back. And I don't recall exactly the time frame. If we found out last summer that the neighbors behind us are now amateur beekeepers. So one way or the other, I don't remember if it was last year or after the May incident this year. In any event, this year, what happened was I had videos of the bees coming out of my neighbor Rick here. His arborvitaes, it looked like a Pandora's box, just like you see. You open up and the bees came out. It was incredible. I mean, that's the word I used in my video, right? And then they kind of migrated and then went away. And then I was going out to tie up my dog to a leash that's by my hydrangea tree in the back. And I bend over, pick it up, and I hear, oh, those things bloom, beautiful blooms, but not in May. And I looked and I had 2 massive swarms of bees on my tree. Which that's how I ended up reaching out to Brian Chapdelaine in the health department. So obviously, I was trying to compare this to, we don't know what the regulations are for amateur beekeeping and whatnot. And we know that in speaking with Brian Chapdelaine that there's, they're regulated or they're protected or what have you. But there's got to be some sort of regulations for people to just start up amateur beekeeping in their backyard. And the reason why I say that is because it's different. And I don't know what the process is if you want to have chickens in your backyard. Well, if chickens get loose, what's going to happen? All right, maybe a dog gets a chicken, a fox gets it, you get some poop on your yard. Okay, big deal. Right? You can get past that. But if you got bees that get loose, my friend Rick here, his wife's recovering cancer patient. So her immune system is very compromised. My immune system is compromised. My granddaughter, we couldn't go in our pool at times because she's severely compromised. My neighbor's daughter is severely compromised. So there's got to be some sort of regulation put in for anybody that wants to do this. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but I don't know if there's a public notice because let's face it, somebody could die from if they're highly allergic. So that's the reason why we're here. We're not to say that nobody can't do this, but there's got to be some protections put in place for people that have issues with bees. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can ask around with the city for what we might be able to, like, somebody to talk to or do, but yeah, this is, I would say in general, more like a public health, public safety sort of issue. But yeah, this is,
and that's where
it's new. It's definitely new for us. I mean, I know the committee name is BEES as an acronym, but not directly kind of our purview, I think.
Gotcha. So
Yeah,
and then I apologize. We weren't.
No, you're totally fine.
We weren't entirely sure what this meeting was about.
Yeah, I get you.
Is it, you mentioned May, and in your observation, is that typically the time frame that you've seen this?
So the first time was July of 23.
Okay, so
that May, and it was the early part of July, and then this year was the end of May, right around Memorial Day. So, but to your comment about health, that's exactly what Brian Chapdelaine had done, was reach out to the health, or I think he's part of the health department maybe, but he in turn responded to my email and said that he was going to have to reach out to the Department of Agriculture, and then because of the protection of the bees and such.
Right.
But I never heard anything back, and quite honestly, I thought this may be part of that. So
Okay, yeah, no, unfortunately, yeah, it's unrelated, but agriculture is probably a good place. Are honeybees protected?
they are.
Okay.
And there's a.
I mean, they're an agricultural tool. Yeah, I guess tool is the way to phrase it, but
I don't know what level of
It-
protection they have, but that's
Right.
what Brian had responded back.
well, honeybees are, are imports from Europe. And it's not much of a comfort when they're swarming around your head.
Nope.
But that is also a time when they are not aggressive. For the simple reason, they will defend their colony space. When a swarm goes out, essentially what it is it's colony reproduction, and the old queen gives the colony to her daughter and takes a bunch of the workers, and they go off and end up in a tree somewhere, which is where you see it.
That's where I saw it.
And then what they're doing is they are desperately trying to find the new home.
And that's
But
that.
they have
yes.
nothing to defend, and so, as long as you don't go, wave a tennis racket at them, nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't help in the instance that it's happening, because it's still quite alarming.
Yeah.
But,
So one of my neighbors actually had spoke, and he's unable to be on the call or be here, but he had spoken with them, and turns out that it seemed like the reason why they weren't contained, but the reason why they were leaving the nest or leaving the home is they were in search of water. They didn't have any sort of water available for the bees, is what we heard. And the reason, and that makes a lot of sense because my neighbors to the right of me, they have a beautiful in-ground pool and have their little waterfall would dribble water constantly, right?
So,
And the bees would just stay there, and so they couldn't use it. But they were looking for water, and my filter would leak, and they would be all over my filter. So they were looking for water.
Jenny looked up one of the ordinances. So the apiary ordinance is inside the zoning ordinances, strangely enough, which I don't know if that's going to be a huge help to you right now, but we can certainly ask around at some of the other committees and like public health and see if we can find anything. Let me get your email, maybe.
Sure. It would be easier if I wrote it down, or you want me to say it to you?
Whichever.
Yeah.
My name's Rick Sinikowski. I'm his neighbor. I have a hummingbird feeder attached to my deck, a bracket. And they swarmed onto the hummingbird feeder on the bottom where the boards are. And they cover the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was just awful. I took the hummingbird feeder down.
Yeah. I mean, I know that there was a swarm of bees that showed up in front of the old city hall last year.
Yeah.
Right.
And they hired a professional to come down and basically like move them.
And I reached out to that same person to get them out of my tree.
Right.
Those two swarms, and they left on their own before that, thankfully. But I reached out to two different. Yep.
Just curious if you reached out to your local city councilor about this at all?
I'm not. No, I was honestly waiting to hear back from Brian Chapdelaine after I reached out to the agricultural department.
Mhm.
So
Can we get a little piece of paper for them and then just like that back down?
I wish they were here.
there is a couple of our neighbors that are on the call. If anybody wants to share anything.
Yeah, if you want to raise your, I mean, like we'd be happy to hear you out, but like we literally are not actually.
You have to unmute.
I know, I'm just letting them know. So if anybody wants to go ahead and speak, I can unmute you, but that's why all we're going to be able to say is we will ask around because it's not really our purview. But so everybody good, thumbs up if you're all right, or hit the raise hand button if you're wanting to speak. Okay, that one. I think we're okay then.
Do you want your email on there?
Yeah, you can put my name, RJ.
So just because I'm nosy, what is the real intent of the meeting tonight?
So, well, we have a few things that we're going to be covering. We have a new council or committee member here, so we're going to be like just saying hi to her. Hi. We had the counselor that was working with us has recently resigned the city council, so we're just going to be kind of talking through some of the repercussions of that and figuring out how to like backfill that. He also had like some logins with some things that we need to get our hands on, stuff like that. Little bit of updates on outreach and public education, which is one of the things we're doing around the biodiversity, environment, and ecological sustainability mission. So, we had we'll be talking a little bit about a potential workshop that we're going to have because I actually found somebody these folks don't even know yet, but I haven't told them. But I ran into somebody who did a bunch of research on bumblebees, which are actually the native bees, which are more what we're concerned with. And we're going to try and set up a workshop to teach people about those. They're solitary bees. They don't swarm. So I'm not gonna, and then a little bit, we're moving towards doing ordinances around native plantings and stuff for the city. And we'll be talking about updates on those. So that's the agenda for this evening.
Yeah, just generally speaking, what we're about is promoting things like native plants, biodiversity of pollinators and things like that. So where the bees tie in and stuff like that, but it also concerns stuff larger, and it's really kind of advisory more than anything. I mean, we will take on specific projects and things, but we don't have a sort of legislative or
Powerless.
oversight of any kind other than just an advisory capacity to the city and the council and the mayor's office.
We're not
The bee-
totally against bees because we're good partners.
Yeah.
At least his wife is, so.
My
yeah.
wife, I don't know, it's so warm. On Stonewall, my wife has all her flowers and
Right.
the bees were on the rocks. I could see them out there.
So the second one, SNET,
My last name?
or the email,
Oh, RJ Snat, SNAT,
ATE, okay.
at Yahoo.
When you're done, I have a question. If that's okay.
Go ahead. Oh,
I'm
yeah.
Mila. I'm one of the neighbors, the ones that have the pool and the little kids where the bees were swarming by. So you guys saying that you don't know or if they have it or if there's any regulations as far as like what does somebody need to have in order to have a bee farm in their backyard?
Correct. I don't know. Like, we have not had to deal with that before, and we haven't looked at, we haven't looked at the honeybee ordinances or the ordinance that allows honeybees as part of the agricultural city or anything.
Gotcha. I understand that even the person that owns them have told us that they're very docile, but to explain that to a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old when they're running outside.
Yeah, I can see that would be
So,
challenging.
we, one which is allergic and my mother that watches them for me a lot. So I guess we're just trying to get to the bottom of who can help us so that doesn't become an issue again this year. So we didn't know if you guys, since you understand about bees, knew the regulations of what somebody has to have. I mean, there's very small acre spaces in our neighborhood. It's not like big lots or anything. So, and it's all the way back into close fence. It's not like it's next to their house even. So it's, I guess we just need to get to the bottom. If you guys know who we can contact and like, we can start, a group or something that we can find that out.
We do that yet, but we will go ahead and, we'll be reaching out to the Agricultural Commission, who's probably going to be the core of this, because they're the ones that have the ordinance that allows it. And then, probably some city councilors or something. And I've taken these emails, I will email them tonight just to give them my email so that they can, if I fail to respond, you're more than welcome to come back to me again and just remind me. I hopefully won't, but just, I'll make sure I email you so that, you have my email. And then
I'll share it with,
and like I said, we'll be able to ask around and like try and find stuff for you, but like we're not gonna be able to do anything directly. We can just try and help find the right people to talk to.
we appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for, sorry, we're.
No, that's okay.
It's okay. We're talking to somebody, that's all.
New to all of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any more beekeepers in Easthampton that have honeybees and
Oh, I'm
maintaining.
sure there's probably quite a few.
I'm
but-
sure there are, but I've seen very few hive boxes as I drive around town.
It's gotta be a way they have to contain them.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you. And I'll send you the email and we'll be in touch. Sounds great.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, take care.
See, that's what you guys.
Yes.
Spelling.
Welcome, Renee.
Thank you.
Exciting start. Thought anybody else have any other deep words of welcome? Because that's about the amount of depth that I have right now.
Well, happy to have you.
Happy to be here. Thank
Absolutely.
you so much.
In the future, the dress code is evening wear.
Yes, yes, or Halloween costume, one or the other. Yeah.
Okay, Councilor Zaret's exit from the committee. We have reached out to a couple of people and asked, about how we're going to backfill with another city councilor, because the ordinance that created the committee does say that we're supposed to have a city councilor. Have you heard anything?
I have not.
Okay, I have not either. So I guess we're gonna have to do another sweep and follow up. I will take an action item to email the new city council chair again. maybe I'll go ahead and email, I believe, is it Councillor Riley that runs the appointments committee?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll be working on that. I'll take that as the action item. And then if anybody else has any ideas or you happen to be talking to anybody, feel free to ask questions. Like, your own city councilor or at one of your other meetings that somebody happens to be there that might be of use or whatever, or the mayor, if you happen to run into the mayor. I don't know. I have no idea. Okay, so there is an issue with the Xerces Society because they have a login that we don't have. So Hal volunteered to reach out to them and try and see if we couldn't get a login sent to a different thing. Unfortunately, just for Renee's, for a little bit of a historical note, we were trying to get we have a bees in Easthampton ma.gov email address. Unfortunately,
the B City.
well,
program,
and I wanted to, we were intending to use it as sort of a central point for everybody and like have multiple people be able to log on, but unfortunately the IT requirements mean that we have to have multi-factor authentication, which means we can't use it as a shared inbox. As far as I know, the IT department hasn't been able to like give me anything that we could use as some kind of shared inbox. So about the only way we could do a shared inbox is if we did it out of band, which doesn't seem.
If we did it what?
Out of band.
Oh, sorry, like basically got our own email that wasn't associated with the city.
Band. Okay.
Thank you. Sorry. So like we have that for sent only stuff, but it feels a little bit weird from like a public records perspective to have like an official one. So I just don't think we can do it. Which I also, the IT department won't let us set it up so that emails that go to the bees at Easthampton email forward to all of us, which would have been useful as well. So there appears to be no way that as committee members, we can have like a shared committee email address, which is not great, but is what it is. Unless somebody has any brilliant ideas, I can write the IT department and ask again, because it would be super useful, because especially stuff like if we're going to have an account with the Xerces Society, it really shouldn't be on an individual on the committee, because that's always going to be a pain when that falls through. When people leave or win the lottery and disappear to Timbuktu or whatever.
Well, let's assume I'll reach out to them tomorrow. And, I assume this will be a multi-part discussion, but I'll explain to them sort of the situation we find ourselves in.
Mhm.
And, without getting into, any specific level of detail, tell them about some of the challenges we have with communication. Okay, what do you suggest?
Yeah.
I will also ask them if we owe them a renewal fee already.
Okay.
Giving them a report.
Right, and one of the other things that we're going to have to figure out is how to get that appropriated if we do, because I believe Owen managed that last time. So yeah, I don't believe we do. It's yeah, we don't owe them the paperwork for the renewal. We pay them a fresh fee or something.
Right.
So
Anyways, I will ask the question.
thank you. Feel free to copy me on that if you want.
Sure.
Get back or whatever.
Yeah, they come across as being fairly
Oh yeah, it's gonna be.
constructive and looking to help pipes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't think it'll be a big deal.
Yeah.
He says naively.
And then I don't know if there's anything else that we want to, does anybody else have any other thoughts, questions, concerns about things that we need to be looking at or addressing with Councilor Zarrett's departure?
I know he was one of the Facebook folks on there too. So if anybody else would like, if anyone else has Facebook.
Renee, do you have Facebook?
I do.
Because you are, that makes two of you, the rest of the stuff. So would you mind being an admin on the Facebook group?
Yeah, that's fine.
Great.
I should be able to do that, and I don't know if Owen created it originally, so
We might
he
have-
may need to make somebody else sort of a
I'm
super
sure,
admin.
yeah,
so
I'm
that
sure
he
he'll
can
be
be removed or
pass it off or
whatever.
whatever.
Yeah, I can follow up with him on that, or at least look at adding you.
Okay, I was gonna say, are you the other person
Yeah,
on
I'm
it?
the other
Okay.
person on it right now.
Have we made any posts or anything that we should?
I don't think so recently. I think there was some in the lead up to the public event.
Yeah, I think there was maybe a shared, I
Yeah,
think maybe
there's
there's
something
a
that you
shared
liked. I think I
something.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting those notifications.
Keep trying to who's the?
Yeah, and in terms of being an admin, you're welcome to like basically any ideas that you have or things that we send, you know, if you see something or if we send you stuff and you want to just post it.
Okay, great. I
Feel
love
like,
I love on my own personal account sharing like, especially events that might be happening locally
Yeah.
and, things that,
Yeah.
so I'm happy to share those as well.
Active outreach on that would be lovely. And then just kind of like, you don't have to, we don't need to approve all that stuff, but if like you can just kind of tell us some of the
Yes.
stuff that you posted.
Absolutely.
For the public
Mhm.
record or whatever,
Mhm.
that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Similarly, other folks, like our usual practice is just if we find something good to kind of send it in some way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
Usually just email the.
Send the group.
Email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connected on
There-
Instagram, I'm on
okay.
Facebook, so I might send
Okay.
you stuff that way if that's
Awesome.
okay.
Yep,
There
absolutely.
is also a shared drive that we have access to.
Okay.
We need to make sure you have access to.
Okay.
Or it's a Google Drive with the city that we do, that we
Okay.
can, that they gave us to all our individual accounts, so we can
Okay.
all just like access it. Few useful things there is we do try and run a email or a newsletter
Okay.
via email that will go out every someplace between 1 and 3 months, hopefully. We can do that for March. We're gonna,
Subject.
oh yeah, so that can be, okay, so good point on the outreach. We'll put a pin in that, but like, also there's an agenda, there's like a future agendas thing, so if you have an agenda
Okay,
item or
excellent.
whatever, you can just like post it there and then we'll.
Okay.
You know, and then we can add it, and I will try to be better again about getting the agendas done before the last minute, so I'll try and send out agenda requests and maybe we can do like a reminder on action items.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll try and get better about that stuff again. I was good about it at first and then I got laid off and then I was bad about it and then no one took over for a while and then I was thinking about it and now I'll try and get better about it. Okay, anything else for Councillor Zaret's exit at the moment that anybody knows of? Worry about. There's some of this stuff that's gonna overlap because he was kind of going to be point on some of the ordinances stuff. And also, potentially with the, climate action plan. To a certain extent, I feel like we're in a bit of a holding pattern. We're just kind of like stuck waiting on some stuff until we get like the sustainability coordinator who will be working closely with us and then a city council member again. Obviously there's the outreach and the public education stuff and the the, you know, sort of like volunteer days we can kind of keep moving forward on, but I feel like we're kind of stuck on the ordinances and city advisory stuff until we have the actual city folks back on the committee.
I guess my only, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jenny.
My only question would be that, like, obviously we are fine to meet without a city councillor because we have a quorum.
Yep.
But is there a point at which that would, like, do we have a timeline on this by which we need to get the councillor position filled, or are there any other parameters we should be aware of?
I asked and was basically told no, that there's like, you know.
Now that the committee exists, is
Right.
what you've got.
Like, obviously it's in our interest to have someone who has a little more clout,
Right.
but
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason that folks don't care, because we haven't pushed a lot, you know, we haven't pushed ordinances or anything yet. There's
Yeah.
nothing in process and
okay, thank you.
it's a little bit unfortunate, but
I think everyone here has until the 24th to nominate yourself for the open city council seat. You'd like to take Owen's spot on the council?
Yes, thank you very much for bringing it up.
Yeah.
you know, if I won the lottery, I would yeah, because I would have free time. I'd just not be working. I like the idea of some of it, but not a lot of it.
I can provide one or two other updates related to what you're talking about. My understanding is that the sustainability coordinator position has been offered and accepted, and that a person starts on March 3rd.
Oh, great.
Oh, thank God.
I
That's
do
great
not,
news.
told, she, I believe, don't know, it was a good, very good candidate. I've requested to find out their name and like wanted to try to invite them to my energy committee meeting and this one today, even though they haven't started yet.
Yeah.
But I haven't received the information on who exactly it is yet.
Yeah.
But
That's pretty-
DPW apparently has them starting from March 3rd.
Great.
Wonderful.
Good.
Thank you.
And they're under DPW as their
Will be under DPW. Yeah, they've moved.
choice.
Well, figure, yeah, I think the other choice would have been planning.
Right.
But because they're going to be like actively involved with a lot of city
Makes sense.
buildings and things and, initiatives and things like that, I think the mayor thought it made more sense to put them there.
Okay.
Would love to have a close relationship with Director Middleman, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be the first start.
Yeah.
Filling that.
Yeah, hopefully.
Mazel tov.
Part of it is that we're just like somebody, either Director Middleman or to be able to tell us when they're gonna do work on the Manhattan.
Right. Yeah, well, this, person hopefully will be a good liaison to that.
Yeah.
We already have them solving about 50 problems for us within the first week that they're here, so.
So you're gonna be bogarting all the time. Thanks, Jamie.
No, we've been talking about it for a long time
Yeah,
too. It's
yeah.
like, we finally get a paid staff person and we were,
Yeah.
I guess Cassie was involved with this too before she left, but
Yeah.
I think she did so much for us there. And
Yeah,
we
yeah.
really
Well, I
felt
mean, that was
the lack of.
Cassie doing two jobs was a big part of the reason that I think they decided it was worth it, because
Yeah.
it was clearly working way too hard, and we all remember and thank her for her service.
The other thing that is related to the energy committee and hiring is that we're also, there's a job posting for a part-time energy advocate. If anybody knows anybody, that is to work with the city of Easthampton, city of Northampton, and Westhampton on the Mass Save Community First Partnership 3-year grant that we got. So they will be promoting the Mass Save programs throughout those 3 communities. So it's a separate position.
Okay, great.
That will be starting, well, I don't know, the job posting's up, but the hire is not right there. So.
How, just out of curiosity, how much part-time?
I think it's like 20, I think it might be 20 hours a week, 20 to 25 hours a week.
Okay.
You can look at the posting on
Yeah.
the website, I think. Someone recently. They will be housed in, Easthampton's gonna host them, even though all 3 communities will contribute to the payment. Somehow.
And the curiosity question, when you say Mass Save, I mean, that's a program which is largely administered by Eversource.
Correct.
Or Eversource
National
plus
Grid.
National Grid plus whomever.
Yeah.
So, is that, am I reading too much into this connection or?
No, I mean, it's funded by that same, but it's all part of the Mass Save overall budget, I believe. This is a program they carved out to go to different communities and try to find ways to engage the public and get more people into the programs. So it's being funded that way. So there was a competitive application process that we entered into with Northampton and Westhampton.
Good job.
But not
So we got it.
Southampton.
What's that?
Good job.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it was exciting. Northampton has paid people on staff that drove it, but Cassie from my committee and I helped with the process. And so, yeah, it's exciting. It's targeting specific, low, is it low income? It's actually more moderate income because that tends to be the hole in the program. Like the low income stuff hits, and then people with higher incomes tend to know about it and like take advantage of stuff, but it's kind of that middle space.
Yeah.
So we're targeting, landlords and renter, people who have rental buildings,
Yeah.
as well as like small businesses and things like that is the focus groups,
Nice.
focal points for that. So anyway,
That's fantastic.
relevant.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And then we're still talking like public outreach, or we're not part of the.
Yeah, we're in that part now.
Okay.
Unless anybody has anything else on councilor's area. Going once, going twice, told on public outreach.
Okay. So the other thing that we're talking about, and I know we just did the Winterfest thing, and thank you all for coming by, and like that was a little bit of a.
We could probably talk a little bit about us not getting that put together, but it's okay.
Yeah, and I put that, a little bit on myself just for bringing it up and then not really being able to follow through because I wasn't involved as much on the planning side from that. Connie was running with that, and it was reasonably successful, although not quite as big. And I think it picked up later in the day, but we have been talking about doing something else around Earth Day, springtime. And we started talking about that today, like what that could be. John from my committee has already reached out to the mayor, and Lindsay responded favorably about, wanting to do something, having it be maybe around the climate action plan, the sustainability coordinator, all these other programs that we have going on. So we're trying to figure out how big should we try to make this, given the bandwidth and the amount of time that we have. What could we want to do? And then also talking about the limitations of meeting so infrequently, but not being able to sort of communicate as a whole group, like outside of official meetings. So
Yeah.
so what they're going to do is 2 people from the committee are going to meet. From the energy committee are going to meet along with possibly Connie Denham, and maybe Lindsay from the mayor's office. And then if anyone from this committee would be interested in joining forces to talk about what that might look like,
Absolutely.
but maybe less than what would be a quorum from any group.
Yep.
You can discuss, what can we do here? When can we do it? What else? Who else do we want to invite?
Yep.
What do we want to promote? Oh, I'm
Okay.
sorry, it would be too long. But
You're good.
Yeah.
so if there's anyone wants to raise their hand for that, I can connect the 2 groups and they can hash out when that might happen.
Okay. Does anybody want to immediately raise their hands?
Do you know about when this is going to be?
So the date,
The Earth Day is
is
2 months from now.
Yeah, April 27th was the initial date we were talking about as a possibility, like right after Earth Day, and that's a weekend. It's not Easter weekend, so you get away from that conflict. Then there was some discussion today about, well, maybe we could piggyback on something else that's happening, or work with, say, like the Pascomic Land Trust. They do an annual plant sale in the spring, so maybe if we timed it like around their plant sale, we could kind of do double duty and get more people to come to it. They also did like a big estate sale thing in the fall, where they had one of their members that had like a bunch of stuff they wanted to give away, and apparently that was very successful.
Yeah, they did that to get away from plant sale, which they got away from because of jumping worms.
Yes,
Correct.
correct. So they're looking at doing another estate sale. It won't be as big or as thorough necessarily, but in their email I got, they were talking about doing that as well. And that's probably sometime in May. So we're looking at late April into May as possible times, but it's open for discussion.
Okay. Well,
I can volunteer to be on
I
that.
was gonna say, you can forward my name and email to him and I'll try and help out. I mean, that timing works for me.
Okay. All right,
Mostly.
so Hal and Sean
Yeah.
will be a couple folks.
Yeah,
interested
I'll
here.
start getting scarce towards, at the end of April.
Okay.
Great.
All right. So I'll connect you with John Pepe and Connie Dawson from the Energy Committee.
Great.
We're going to lead that. Take it away. But yeah, I'm excited about that, and maybe being able to do sort of a big press release around the climate action plan, tie all this stuff together into what we're doing.
Yeah.
Be something. I don't expect it to be cultural chaos levels of engagement, but the cultural chaos comes up later.
Yeah. Circling back around a little bit to the Google Drive, so we'll make sure that we'll send the department a request to get you shared into that so that you have access to it.
Thank you.
Agendas, newsletters. There is also, we have our sort of checklists for running invasive removal parties on there, which, those will be evolving documents, but we're trying to have a little bit of process around them. So we know, because we're supposed to let Director Nettleman know we're going out. We're supposed to let somebody else who I don't even remember that we're going out, because we have to drop off the dead plants and have space for them and all this other stuff. So, and then trying to figure out if we're going to be another good thing will be trying to figure out if we're going to get overrun by the DPW doing work exactly where we did work. Yeah, would be good. Unfortunately, our best area for invasive removal is where they're going to be doing a lot of work, because there's the Manhattan Trail got $500,000 to do a bunch of work, and they're going to be removing a bunch of trees and doing a bunch of relaying of asphalt and stuff like that, and also I think digging some trenches or something. And as much as it would be nice if we could be given a heads up about that, I don't think we will be. So yeah,
The plan when you don't know what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, and to a certain extent, the invasive removals are not just about the actual invasive removals; they're also about teaching people how to do it and whatnot. So it's not wasted effort by any stretch of the imagination, but it is less satisfying if you see everything the area that you just did stuff in be completely torn up.
Ask us how we know.
That's and also on public outreach, I had Jenny had sent me a bees, like a lab at UMass Dartmouth or something.
Oh, yeah.
That has bee stuff, and I had posted that to a Discord that I run, and then somebody joined the Discord that was like, "Oh, I worked on that for like a year."
Oh, that's
And I
awesome.
was like, "Cool. Do you want to run a workshop?" And they said, "Yes, I would love to run a workshop."
Oh my God.
So I put myself. He said that the best time to do that would probably be in July. So I set myself a reminder on my. I set myself a reminder to contact them in early April to start setting that up. And it sounds like he'll want to do it as a walk, but so that will be a thing that I will be organizing, and we'll make sure we put it on make sure we have a newsletter early enough and be able to send that out, and it can kind of go. Yeah, we'll make sure that you get it on the social media. So nothing to do on that right now, but I'm intending to set that up. And it should be fun, and we'll just do it as kind of an official easy thingy.
That's wonderful. I'm happy to send that link around as well. It's a resource that I've been really, really stoked to learn about.
I would love that.
Yeah, this guy, Dr. Robert Jagir, who's UMass Dartmouth.
I-
Okay, yeah, you know.
He
has been
does incredible work.
really incredible work.
Yeah.
Are you guys also familiar?
I'm not, so I'd like to put on.
Okay. In short, he is an entomologist and ecologist who works out of UMass Dartmouth,
Mhm.
who is specifically working on rare and endangered pollinator species in Massachusetts, and in particular, Western Mass and the Pioneer Valley. And as a way of doing that, has set up a number of longitudinal data meadows. And he and his lab go out and observe like a lot of like bee visitations on flowers, and as a result are generating data about what flowers bees actually use and how it affects endangered bee populations in like a really granular, specific way that is totally new. And as a result, they've generated these amazing plant recommendation lists for what you should actually plant to support what specific species of bees. It's an incredible resource.
That would be something really good for us to share.
Yes.
Assist people with their gardening efforts.
One of my
Absolutely
local
should.
heroes.
He's great.
His
Yeah.
work is incredible, and his documents are easy for the layperson to read. Great visuals. Yeah, very
Okay.
impressive.
I actually sent this out as a resource in our last newsletter as well. So we should continue to share it, but it's great. I can send that out.
Bill, does anybody else have any thoughts or things that they want to talk about with outreach and public education? Oh, there was also, yeah, you have it.
Yeah, I mean, on the subject of the newsletter, I think the time is probably ripe to start putting our next one together. There are a ton of events coming up that I think would make for a pretty robust send. In particular, something I wanted to flag for this group is that in our last meeting, I had floated the idea of doing some kind of gardening event with the library. Turns out they separately have already planned a series of gardening events at the library with someone local. And they just announced those. There's going to be, I don't know if it's exactly weekly, but over the next couple of months, there's 4 events that look wonderful and are very allied with our mission. So I plan to promote those even though we're not, involved in any way. And would love to attend if I'm able to, and encourage folks to do that as well.
We can bask in reflected glory.
Exactly. I mean, I think it would just be like a great place to be and make connections, and like if there's an
Yeah.
opportunity to like
Yeah.
make a quick pitch, that might be an opportunity, and maybe it's worth reaching out to the library to see if we can like horn ourselves onto the agenda for a second.
Swarm in.
Swarm in, well, swarms. So I'm
Non-violent.
yeah, don't affect any children. I'm happy to get that started, and again, the newsletter document is on the drive, so if there's other stuff that you want to add in, email me, add it,
Awesome.
whatever works.
I'm always on the lookout for local events happening in the pollinator, biodiversity, native genre.
I also wanted to flag one other event that the Massachusetts Pollinator Network, which I think a lot of folks are aware of, they do relatively regular brown bag lunch webinars, many of which look interesting, usually not able to go. Their next one is on some kind of municipal reforestation, like ordinance support thing. And related to our next agenda item, I'm going to try to make that because it may have some really important resources. So just wanted to flag that as another outreach item.
Is that one of the ones that's during the day or is that one of their evening? Sometimes they do some evening ones that I've been just starting to find out, but the during the day ones,
I
always
know,
cursing that
exactly.
they, and they don't, I wish they offered, which I don't know for sure if they do or not, but
Yeah.
recordings of those early, because they do a lot of really fantastic events like that, the
Completely
brown
agree.
bag events.
Yeah, I'm checking to see. I just signed up for the Zoom link so that it's just kind of like on your calendar. Yikes. Yeah, I don't see it on their upcoming calendar events. I thought it was February 26th. It's not listed, but it does look like those are generally in the lunch hour. So, we'll see. But yeah, I should, at some point, I will probably just like pick a date to send the newsletter out. So as to get my rearing gear to actually send it.
And again, we can also make that available on the Facebook page to try to get as many eyes
Absolutely,
on it
yeah.
as possible.
Yeah. I mean, I would say both of each of the individual items that we share in the newsletter would probably make a fine post, and then it would be great to share the newsletter as a whole.
Yeah,
And encourage
yeah.
folks to sign up for it.
That's
So
a great
kind of
idea. So
giving the
then
price
there's
of one.
several posts.
Yep.
Yeah, the more, I feel like the more we're putting out there,
Exactly.
the more will get
Right.
seen.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, along those lines, there's that, I'm looking up again, that was it Hampton and Hampshire Conservation District
Yes.
stuff, and I'm looking at, are you familiar with
No,
that at all?
no.
I know, it's like this thing that's like right in our backyard that like does all this stuff. I mean, they're upcoming event series, some of which are in person at various libraries, some of which are on Zoom, included like environmentally friendly lawns and lawn alternatives, how to maintain a native plant garden, transform your yard to support pollinators, a 12-step program, et cetera, et cetera.
I've written that down in my notes.
Yeah, I
Thank
did
you.
reach out to them many months ago to whatever was on their website and never heard back. And I even tried to join what I thought was their monthly call, like that I was like the only person there. Nobody ever showed up.
Oh,
And I mean, it was online, so I didn't.
yeah.
But I did get their recent newsletter. I think I shared with some of the group, and yeah, just there's so much overlap with what they're doing. It feels like an easy way to sort of maybe bask in some reflected glory, or it's just to get an easy extension of what we're doing and point people in some good directions.
Agreed. I think a lot of those, the local organizations also, from what I'm seeing, really try to promote other local organizations. So it would be nice to be able to connect as much as possible to for us to be able to then give their information and vice versa.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get next. This email's across the sentence. Okay, last thing is, whether or not we want to talk about, I think we've already kind of talked about this. It was ordinance updates and approach, and I think the general consensus, and somebody can raise their hand and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're more or less going to let that ride a little bit until we have a counselor to work with again.
Yeah, I think we have no choice.
I mean, we could make recommendations. You know, there are like there was a group that doesn't have a counselor on it, and I don't even think it's like a city committee that just recommended a zoning ordinance update, which is fantastic. And it's going to get discussed a whole bunch, so we could still make the recommendation. But I don't know that we have the bandwidth at this point in time.
I think that would be my thought. Where the last time that Owen and I talked about it, which I believe was over the summer, the action item was to try to write the ordinance based on other successful ordinances that have passed in other municipalities. I don't have the bandwidth to do that right now, I will say. But it is something like if somebody wanted to, that is like there was something that we could do in the meantime before it was sort of set in motion.
Yeah, and we, if somebody had the bandwidth, I would be more than happy to like try and help out, and we could submit it through, you know, our personal city councilors or whatever, and ask that they consider it, and we could start a dialogue that way.
Yeah.
However, I'm not volunteering. Jenny's not volunteering.
I'm volunteering to go to the lunch talk next week.
Yeah.
See if that's right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I got.
Yeah. So I think we're a little bit low on bandwidth right now, and hopefully we can like respur that with the combination of a new council member and the sustainability coordinator member. Not saying that I will always be low on bandwidth, but I am right now. So I think we're officially sort of taping those at least for a little while, and then if we have to get back to them because we are required for Xerxes, then we can get to it just before next year.
Before when next year?
Like around this time.
Okay, so we have a year to do this.
I think for
That's valuable.
reporting to Xerxes,
Yeah.
it would be due at the end of February in 26.
Right.
That's their standard reporting window.
And I believe their goal is just that you're trying, so you don't have to be successful. So
Okay.
like, you know, doing something so that we could say that we've made the attempts.
I think they are much more interested in being supportive
Right.
and helping us to succeed than in being.
And they probably have, my guess would be they have boilerplate that we could.
Well, I was just gonna say, yeah, that seems like maybe the first.
Well, I think they do make other, organizations, chapters, whatever, reports available.
Yeah.
Imitation is the sincerest
Yeah.
form of flattery,
Yeah.
so, plagiarism is probably encouraged, and I think what we should do is really just keep a running list of what we've done.
Yeah.
When, where, what, how many participants, and I would bet that would be most of it.
Yep.
And then anything we can do, towards an ordinance or, outreach other group is gravy.
Yeah.
So I think, if we just keep that in mind, I think we'll be in good form.
There is a folder on the Google Doc that is for ordinance materials. So if anyone feels inspired to do any research or put
Okay,
anything
good.
in there, you have a free afternoon and want to really get to grips with some regulatory language.
I know I'm on
It's there for you.
a email list. I had made a connection with a city in Connecticut. I can't for the life of me think of which one. At a BAT event that I went to, they were there for talking about what they're doing in their city with native plants and native pollinators and biodiversity and things like that. So and they're very, very, very active with their newsletters and updating on what the city is doing. And so I could take a look at what
Where in Connecticut?
I can't think of it off the top of my head what town they were in. They were lovely and they were very welcoming and open saying, if I had any questions, I could contact them on, if there was anything that I was interested in kind of like doing for school or for town or whatever. So I'm happy to just at least take a look and see what they have and pass along information.
Sounds
That'd be
good.
great. Thank you.
There's also in our shared drive, there's also like a contacts spreadsheet, so might be worth adding
Okay.
that.
Yeah, perfect.
Speaking of not losing things in the, accounts that get lost or whatever. Okay, that is the agenda. Any last thoughts, or does somebody want to make a motion to end the meeting?
We have to schedule our next meeting.
We probably should schedule the next
Get
one.
right today.
Good point.
If we're sticking with the same framework, like March 20th.
March 20th was a Thursday, we know that.
The trajectory the other meetings are on.
Is that good? Or would you rather spread
Well, I mean,
this out a little bit?
it makes it easy for me.
Okay,
Works for me.
it's fine with me.
Okay, currently, he's got the energy advisory at 3, and then, so it does look like we could do conference room B at this time on March 20th. So,
Wow, that was the easiest scheduling experience ever.
We'll say that soccer season picks up after that. So my schedule gets a little trickier for April and May probably. Is there anything to be yet?
Okay, so that probably means we don't want to try and schedule further ahead of that. I might put for, if I remember, I'm gonna put on the agenda, trying to find a consistent day and time again, so that we can try and just schedule like, you know, the rest of the year or something at one time and not do this every time. Which we failed at before, but hey,
Right.
hope springs eternal.
Yeah, that's the thing I find the hardest right now is like getting a group of people to agree on a consistent time and it's like really, really tough.
I will just be coming home from the Eastern Entomology Conference in Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
So we'll have some fun
Yeah.
things to share.
Hot insight.
Hot insight about the bugs.
Okay, so
Motion to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Moved.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, I was gonna say, Renee hasn't seconded.
I'm sorry.
Seconded.
Seconded. Been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.